and I always say specifically about this region is that we're not necessarily at the point where we are developing the technology. That might come, but we are very quick adapters. So whenever something is developed, you see it like spike in the region. People adapt, create, innovate, etc. Because it's a young population, high mobile phone penetration, but also there is a lot of creativity and there is a lot of pinned up kind of potential. So, I mean, that story is incredible. We were actually trying to reach the doctor and NGO and see how we can get involved.
Guys, welcome to another episode of Jibber with Jabber. Today I have an incredible guest with me. He's a regional director for Meta in the Mena region. Faris Akkad. Is it Akkad? I don't want to get it wrong. Akkad.
Akkad.
You know, I'm going to get all the Arabs like, you need to get this one right. Welcome to the show, man. We finally made it happen.
I know. I'm
it's
glad
been 6
to be
years
here.
in the making, so we finally got it done.
I'm sorry about all the hoops, but I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, but I guess that happens when you're in your position, right? Like, it's always like, okay, you're traveling now.
I'm traveling now. I think, you don't just represent yourself, you represent a company. So there's some things, people have to feel comfortable about it, etc. But I think it's great. I think, like I told you before, it's great to do these things. It's connect us with our audience. You ask the questions that people are on top of people's minds. And so it's good. I'm happy to.
And I think it's really important as well that people get to see kind of the side of you they don't get to see.
Yeah.
And who knows, even people at work. I mean, I've been sent a couple of questions by the staff at work. So I'm going to start asking those.
Okay.
Why do you keep eating my yogurt from the fridge? It has my name on it.
I know.
Like,
I'm hungry.
I think I should ask the most important question first and get it out the way. So I'm having trouble with my Facebook password. How do I reset it? I imagine you get so many stupid questions from people.
Well, it's not stupid. I think it's a legitimate question. When somebody has these issues, I think it probably feels like a big issue for them. The challenge we have, we have channels online, right? And we encourage people to file a task online, etc. The volume of tasks we get is massive, right? We have over 3.5 billion users. So
Best. That's it.
That's why, like, the market wants it to keep growing and growing, right? Yeah. No, but there's a lot of people on it, and between the different platforms and uses, etc. So it's a massive amount of volume. So we always try to keep up, but I understand that it's very frustrating for someone not to be able to access their account. So we do our best.
But I imagine that you, from personal friends, get asked questions and you want to say, you realize that I'm very high up. I'm the regional director. I'm not the guy who's going to reset your password for you.
I try as much as possible. It ends up being an actual, literally like a volume thing. Like I have people who reach out to me. I have people who reach out to my wife's friend. And I understand it. I just not able to answer everybody.
Yeah, right. Do you want to secretly be like, oh, I left, by the way, and just undercover stay there so no one asks you those questions anymore?
Yeah, people come up to the office. So we don't have signs on our office because people walk up and, they have questions, concerns. People want to log into other people's accounts, ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend,
Really?
So that's why we have these online channels to make sure people's privacy is protected. And
That makes sense, because I remember when I went to the office once, they didn't let me in because I wasn't vaccinated at the time.
Oh yeah, we don't actually. Our office are 100% vaccinated.
Yeah, I thought they were joking. I was like, no, I have a meeting. They were like, no, you don't, unless you have your vaccination. And I was
global offices. This is a stance we took a while back, and so we don't like right now. A lot of people also. We usually have like family days, bring kids to kid, but until we clear everything around COVID, we're also not allowing like personal guests. All business guests, and they have to be vaccinated.
I was so excited, and I remember thinking, now I'm taking down all these stories. I'm on the way to the Meta office and everything, and then I was like, okay, now I look foolish.
Why aren't you vaccinated?
I am an NFT, my friend. I am the original human being. This is real. I don't need vaccinations. As you know, I have Lebanese blood. Diseases can't kill us. It's like
let's not engage in that.
Tiger blood, No. So let's talk about your journey to Meta. So how did it come about where you ended up being in the position you're in?
So I've always been interested in media and tech. And when I was in the US, I worked in consulting, and I was in LA for the chunk of my career, and in the Silicon Valley, and worked a lot with the studios. I have family who's in the business. My uncle is a director, and my cousins, and so I've been exposed to it along the way. And then I was in management consulting, and with that I moved to the region. I worked in management consulting here. There wasn't as much studio, so I worked a lot with telcos and tech companies, etc. Then the opportunity came to join NBC Group. So I was with NBC Group doing digital business development, and then took on all of distribution. I was always fascinated by the ability to communicate and the influence that media has on people. You get to write history, you get to define public culture, etc. But I also, after a few years in TV, I noticed kind of the shift starting to happen. And the main shift, there's that moment when, I didn't watch a lot of TV. I was always started getting into streaming, etc. But Ramadan was the time when my parents and family, etc., and everybody watches some TV in Ramadan. And the key trigger was when my mom started watching Shahid, which is the streaming platform that NBC owns. And I didn't teach her that. But my mom, who was an avid drama follower, started saying why do I have to watch it at this place and time? I can watch it anytime. So I started seeing the decline of TV, and I noticed the shift that was going on, and I knew that was going to happen fairly quickly. And so as part of my job, I was interacting with many of the digital platforms at the time, and Facebook wanted to was looking to build up what they call their media partnership team, which is the team that interacts with the celebrities, the creators, the media partners. And so I joined, did that at a regional level, and then I took on a global role when I was doing managing all news partners across all developing markets for Facebook. And then the opportunity came to take on manage the region, but in a more broader prospect. And so I decided to do that, and we apply internally and we go through the process, and that's kind of what brought me here.
It's crazy, right? How there was a very quick and fast shift into everything being on demand.
It happened quickly. I think COVID also accelerated everything. It accelerated things that were going to take years into months. That's whether it comes to streaming, people shifting from movie theaters, e-commerce, texting, video conferencing, work from home. Zoom, all that stuff was happening slowly, and then it just very quickly accelerated. And that's the beauty of technology, that you're able to, if there's a product market fit, you're able to scale incredibly quickly, versus a brick and mortar business that would need infrastructure and to build, etc. So yeah, I think we live in an era now of very, very fast moving change. And even within our industry, we see a lot of fast changing trends.
Yeah, I think that things are dramatically changing. And I remember I have friends of mine that are really into tech and that, and they were saying to me that, soon TV is just not going to have the same effect as everything, because everyone's going to be well, why can I? And it's convenient, because why should I? Do you remember before when we were growing up, it was a case of I have to be home because that show that I like is on. And if I don't get it now, that's it. I'm missing it, and I'm going to have to hear everyone talk about it tomorrow, kind of thing. But now there's no need for TV. Just even the phone itself. Yeah. The news, anything you want is just there.
100%. I think, live news around particular events and sports is what drives people to live TV. Everything else can be, I think, on demand. And then the other important aspect is what happens, the conversation that happens about those content. And this is kind of where we come in a big way. Everything we do has to have this social element, which has become an integral part of it. We see whether it's TV shows or brands don't want to have one-way conversations anymore. They want to be able to talk to their stars, comment on the show, have a social experience, which used to be that living room when you rushed home and you all sat. But now you're sitting there and talking to the world about a particular show, you know, and it lives on forever and it takes its own life. And I think the level of interaction now, it's become kind of a given. Like people want to be able to engage and want to be able to talk to their content, want to be able to talk to their brands. And so we're a much more connected world.
Do you think that in a way it's divided us? We're losing that kind of family time or that kind of, now, you have children, right? So
Yes.
you know that if you gave your child an iPad, they could literally wake up and then go to sleep 20 hours later if you let them and not say a word to you.
Yeah. Look, and just like everything else, I think technology is built to enable us and give us access. But like anything, it can be misused, it can be abused. I think it's about creating that balance. Mentioning my kids, my kids are 4 and 5. They definitely know a lot more at 4 and 5 than I did, right?
It's crazy, right?
They are able to access information at a level that, you know, I probably couldn't until I was in university. They have ease of use of technology that is incredible, and they're able to, I think, multitask, like the way their brain works. So there is definitely an evolution here.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, you know, what they watch, I think there's some parenting that goes into
that
that.
has to be done.
Yes, but I mean the availability of information and accessibility is wonderful.
Yeah. Talk to me about the company culture at Meta and how that works.
So, look, we are designed in a matrix type of org. So, you know, it's quite a flat organization. There isn't someone who's like the boss of everything. I'm responsible for the office. And
very humble of you.
No. It's just
you're like, I rule with an iron fist, but I'm not the boss. I'm your friend. It's fine.
It's the people have different reporting lines, different functions function differently, and you try to move like an organized mob, and that has some inefficiency, but also creates some good checks and balances. It also creates avoids bottlenecks. So the company has a set core of values, you know, to kind of move fast and done is better than perfect. And, you know, it's about really kind of moving fast and keeping up with the very quickly shifting demands of our consumers, which, unlike, you know, maybe many other industries, shift really quickly. We also have the responsibility to kind of balance between creation, safety, freedom of speech, and safety of and a positive environment on the platform. So especially as you grow to a certain scale and you're part of the social fabric of every society at the most micro level, it becomes quite a daunting task, right? So I think we are by far the biggest social platform or the biggest communication platform that ever existed in history. So in many ways, a lot of our efforts on that front and a lot of the innovation is trailblazing. So type of problems we try to solve and the wonderful things that we see happening on the platform are nothing. There's no precedent to it. There's no textbook to go back to. So, you know, we do our best to try to also make sure that we stick to our values, we stick to the mission, and which is to try to bring the world closer together through communication.
What about the personal culture of the staff themselves? I mean, I imagine Meta, I can't tell you because I wasn't allowed in the offices, but I am...
We're usually very welcoming, very friendly.
To be honest, I'll meet you outside tomorrow. We'll have a chat right outside the gates.
Okay.
But you hear of Google, right? And they have slides in the offices and all of that stuff. When it comes to what's cool about working for Meta, for the staff?
So look, it's a very open environment. You know, I have my desk and it's open. Everybody's open. It's a very accessible culture. We have an internal messaging tool. You could pretty much message anybody.
Is this apart from the electric fence you have around your desk?
No,
it's open, but try and come and talk to me.
Very, very accessible. Even Mark in our headquarters sits in an open desk.
Wow.
So it's a very flat organization. We were very big on being nice. We don't. We're not big on.
I know. I agree. He did turn me away with a smile, to be honest. So.
No, I mean the culture in general. Like if you've worked in other places and I come, initially you're like, why is everybody so nice? But it's just it's a very, very friendly culture, very human in many ways. I think during COVID we were given a lot of leeway. We give incredible benefits. Fathers get 4-month paternity leave.
Really?
Yeah. After once you spend 5 years, every 5 years, you're given an extra month to just it's called recharge, where you go and just kind of recharge and contemplate life. And
does anybody ever recharge and not come back?
Sometimes. I mean, people, it's an opportunity. Usually people tack on another 2 weeks and take 6 weeks off. And it's a way to, they go traveling, they reflect on life, and some of them might decide, but it's better than them leaving and then regretting it, right? Yeah. We give also like a health, a wellness stipend. So people, whether they want to go to the gym, get a personal trainer, buy equipment, do yoga. So the company, I think, is very human, takes care of you in many ways. We offer, meals for free, and if you were to come into our office.
Yeah, if I was allowed to.
Yeah.
School fees?
We do school fees.
Are you hiring at the moment? I've got twins and I just paid my school fees. So these benefits seem like...
Well, you got to be vaccinated. You got to be vaccinated.
To be honest, these school fees, I'll vaccinate myself. Man. It's like, they're like breakers, man. They're like almost end gamers.
I know. In Dubai, it's painful.
Like, I want to think that at the end of next year, they could go to the moon. I mean, with the price that I'm paying, I'm expecting... I mean, they're only 4. But I'm expecting 5 years old NASA level brains, because I've paid a lot in these 3 years alone.
I sometimes go pick up my daughter and she's like, oh, she fell asleep. I'm like, that's money on the table right here.
What do you mean she fell asleep? Where? I'm hoping you put her on a throne and carried her around while she was sleeping for an hour.
I know.
It's crazy out here.
Yeah, it's insane. It's one of the, I think people, especially when we hire people from abroad, they don't understand why we have, because this is a benefit. Actually, it's a regional benefit. We don't have it everywhere, and they don't understand. But when they come, they're like, "Oh yeah,
it makes sense. Now I
get it.
Right?
Now I get it."
That's why nobody stays away from the recharge.
Yes,
they recharge. They're like, maybe I should just change my career, and then the school fees come in. They'll be like, I'm staying.
Yeah, I'm coming back.
I'm coming right back. Something that I want to talk to you about, which when I told people you were coming, I'm probably had about 8,000 of these requests, and it's something I had to deal with as well, and a lot of people deal with. Verification seems to be a big issue. Now, I get it. You probably get 20 million people a day trying to get verified, and one guy who happened to take a picture next to Anthony Joshua going, see, I'm famous, verify me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there is a lot of issues, and there's a lot of people who deserve to be verified.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I ordered a set of Fashion Nova dresses just before I got verified because I was like, this seems to be the only way to do it, is to have my booty looking nice in a picture and get a blue tick. But it's like, lucky, alhamdulillah, it happened.
Yeah. So look, I mean, I think first of all, let's explain verification, because I think there's a misconception, especially here in the region. A lot of people want to get it or perceive it as a status symbol, which is not the reason why it was designed, right? The purpose of verification is that that the verified person is, let's say you're a public figure, and I want to make sure that any messaging I'm hearing from you is you. And if there are many accounts trying to impersonate you, then I want to know that you're the true person. So that's really the main purpose of it, is that, if nobody's trying to impersonate you, and you could have as many followers as you want and no issues, right? But it's when impersonation comes into play. And so the way it works is, you submit, and now it used to be that you couldn't submit through the app, but now you can submit through the app. And what the team tries to verify is if you have to meet what we call a notability criteria, which is you have mentions in the press, you have been discussed, etc. So, they look at certain metrics to decide if you're to be verified or not. Very awkward conversation. People, do you know who I am? I am very famous, and so we try to make it as objective as possible. So, usually if the person has this notability criteria, then they are mentioned in the press and they have the right kind of criteria, and then they get verified. What I do discourage people from doing is going and like paying
And buying them, yeah. A lot of
Buying
people
them.
do that.
A lot of people try to do that. A lot of people, there's a lot of scamming there, and even if it works, we do these sweeps every once in a while,
And
and
then
then
you start disappearing.
then they
yeah.
lose it, and then they come and say, "Oh, I paid this person that much," and I mean, we can't
Who
protect.
told you to pay?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can't protect them from that.
Yeah.
But I think my advice to people who are working on that, and they feel that it is necessary for them, is to just kind of keep working on their account, and it doesn't really, and aside from kind of verifying their identity, it doesn't really give you much benefit. It's like people are like, "Oh, my account got hacked and I was verified." It doesn't protect you from being hacked. It doesn't, if you violate our community standards, you will still get dinged whether you're verified or not verified. So it's simply like if you're talking especially to a math audience, then it's important for people to know that you are who you claim you are.
But there are people out there, like, for example, I've got friends that have done 10 TED Talks. They're part of NASA. Maybe I should talk to them about my kids.
Yes.
They've been impersonated, whatever, and they've been trying for 5 years, and they just keep getting the same message. So, surely there's got to be some kind of computer doing this, and it's not a person,
Well,
right? Because
it's a combination.
Yeah.
It's a combination. And so, there is obviously, again, the volume. You have to do some machine learning and stuff. And we constantly also add sources, like as in publications that we should include in our research, etc. So not saying that mistakes don't happen, but generally at the scale at which you operate, I've also known many people who applied and got it. Like it's you don't have to go through someone who works at the company or anything, but it might take a couple of tries. And what I tell people, if it doesn't work once, then keep trying over and over again is not the solution. It's wait a month or 2, 3 months, work on the account, work on your public profile, and then apply again.
Yeah, I think it's strange. It's really important because also I think it started off as a make sure no one's impersonating you, but also it does now, whether we try to deny it or not, if a business has it or a certain company has it, it does make them seem more like, I think it should be done to like, for example, my friend has a business and he's been that business, he was the first one in Dubai years and years and years and years, very good at his business, and now there's a billion businesses like him. But how do the people know that he's worth, do you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, okay, because he's been verified, it makes him look like he's more legitimate than, do you know what I mean?
Well,
that is the way it is now.
I get that, in the sense that if you were to contact me and you're verified, I will assume you are who you say you are.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that is the purpose. That's by design what it's for. So yes, I get that it gives this legitimacy, but my point is maybe not everybody needs that, right? Not everybody needs to be contacting strangers and saying, well, you know who I am.
Yeah.
I think it's people who have a following, and then their audience needs to make sure they don't want to be misinterpreted or misrepresented in public settings.
Yeah. Another thing, I have a lot of friends asking questions. Hacking. So you were saying the same thing about hacking. So my friend's account got hacked. And what you were mentioning to touch on is the person who hacked his account has been messaging people asking them for money and this kind of stuff. And he's reached out to Instagram 100 times, has shown the conversations between the guy saying, if you don't pay me, I'm just going to keep your account. Has sent the photos, has done all the steps, and they're still like, well, sorry, it seems like nothing's wrong. So in those kind of situations where it's affecting someone's business, they're losing a page that they've been running for years, and it's affecting someone's life, especially if you're an artist, something like that, and you have to be like, okay, I guess I'll start another page. And more importantly, he's like, it's at the point now, I don't care about the page, but this guy's asking for money for people and trying to scam people under my name and under my, because they'll do the, hey, how are you? Hey, listen, I need a favor. One of those kind of things. Yeah. And sometimes it might be too late and someone will transfer money. And it's like, how do we prevent that from, if you take all the right steps?
So if you take all the right steps, you should have double factor authentication, which I recommend anybody turn it on, right? Because double factor authentication creates an extra layer of security so nobody can hack into your account. What you're describing is referred to as like social engineering, where somebody will pretend to be you and ask for money or say transfer me this. This happens, as old as fax, right?
Yeah.
You used to get this this person died, they left you this
Yeah.
money wire. So this is not new, but I think the issue that happens a lot of times is people are either very laid back about their account and their password. Many people in the region, many celebrities, I've seen this a lot, hand their account over to somebody.
Yeah.
Which is like, sometimes it's blows my mind because it's a very valuable asset, right? And so somebody approaches them, say, you don't have presence on social, let me build it for you. And then by the time they fire them, disagree with them, they didn't set up the account, they don't know what the original email is, they don't know what the phone number is, and then they come and say this person is impersonating me, or maybe this person left, they were hacked, and what the team will come and say, they'll ask you for questions that ideally only like what was the original email used to set up the account? What was the original phone number used to set up the account? And then we will send you the reset password to that email. Makes sense, because then if you set up the account.
Makes sense, but I had an issue where I had set up because I had this issue before. I set up mine in the UK. I was using a UK number. I had then since left the UK, and the email I had for the account was a business I used to use. That business, when I left it, got bought. Everything's changed, right? They changed the emails, they changed the name, and the UK number, I don't know who's got it now or if it even exists anymore. I'm trying to call it. No one. I'm sending messages to them like, "Hey mate, I know this is weird, but just send me this 4 numbers that they sent you. It looks like I'm the hacker." So there are situations where
There are,
you can't.
and then like, look, I mean,
And it's very frustrating for people to be like, "Look, I can't get to that number. What do we do now?"
especially for public figures, where there are other implications. I think there's a way to prove your identity, right? So the other thing I see, like sometimes people first, they email, they're like, here's my passport, here's my ID. Like, don't do that either, right?
Yeah.
If the team asks you, first of all, we will never ask you for your password. So that's a common scam. They'll say, oh, if you don't log in right now, your account will be disconnected. The team will never ask you for that. Like we will say, first of all, make sure that you're dealing directly with the help desk, and they'll ask you, what was the original email, what was this. And they won't communicate your password on the messenger. They will only send it to a verified source. So I mean, you got yourself into a little bit
it's a bit of
a unique situation, which there are solutions for it, but I think most people, and this is what we recommend, is that you set up an account that is a personal email that you only know, you only have access to, and you have double factor authentication so you don't get into this mess at all.
Or get vaccinated and go down to the office.
Now, don't do that either.
Do you feel like TikTok and Snapchat are a threat? And this is not just you personally. Actually, it's a 2-factor question. You personally and Meta as an organization.
So look, I mean, obviously,
let's get that mic over. I don't want to miss this part. This is an important part.
Let me put it this way. I think there's a lot of room for growth, and I can speak about the region here, right? Like in this region, all these platforms, we're in the business of digital advertising at the end of the day, right? And the room for digital advertising growth is massive. Like less than 10% of the region is digitally advertising, and you have a region that is almost 90% small and medium-sized businesses, and most of them are not online. So the opportunity for growth is incredible. So I think, to me, all these platforms, us getting people online, getting them engaged in digital advertising, makes the pie bigger. So everybody has their angle, and I think, trends now, obviously short-form video is onto something, and these platforms, especially TikTok, has had an incredible growth journey. But I think it's not like the market is saturated and it's people are not consuming anymore, or we have to eat into each other. I think all of this is driving growth. We're a young region, 70% of the population under 30, early adopters of technology. So, we see it as an opportunity for everybody to grow. We also see innovation on our platform. So Reels, which is our short form video, now represents 20% of the consumption on Instagram. So yeah, there's obviously undeniable interest in this format, which now consumers are shifting into. And so it's an opportunity for us to create a product with our own twist that addresses that and hopefully help the whole pie grow.
What is it that you think that they're doing right or different in comparison to Facebook and Instagram?
So I think the short form video thing is interesting, kind of how appealing it is. I think it's not that they're doing right or we're doing wrong. I think it's we are seeing a similar kind of growth with our Reels product. So it's more like a shift in interest from users. Video has been a fast growing thing. Like Facebook started with text, and that was a way to express yourself. And then we went to pictures, and that was in line with the evolution of hardware. So cell phones started having decent cameras, and with decent cameras, you could upload more pictures, and the whole conversation became more visual. And then recording started on the phones, which led to video. And then people wanted to see more and more video. And now 50% of the consumption on our platforms is video. Then it was about expressing your real-time kind of stories and going, being real, etc. Following individuals or creators. There's now a shift to, you're not necessarily interested in an individual, you're interested in a topic. And regardless of which individual or creator is doing it, you're interested in just following that topic. So these trends constantly shift and evolve, right? This is not new. We've seen it happen. We now have a bet that will evolve into augmented reality, virtual reality, and we see more and more of that happening. Live is another one, like people going live is something that's really, really big on our platform. So I think, people get sometimes fixated on this particular trend or that particular trend, but if you kind of zoom out, these things are constantly happening. And we have the advantage of being the largest and have a pretty big social graph. So we like to always kind of evolve with the consumer habits. And so now it's short video, we offer this product, and it always has to kind of fit also within your consumer, and that takes some adjustment until you find your space in it, and then you grow.
How do you feel about algorithms? Because it's crazy. Because at some point, someone can have maybe, let's just say 5,000 followers, and their pictures and comments are like 17 and 17 likes. And I know personally, this guy knows more than 17 people, and I'll look, they're not fake followers because I know 150 of these people. So are these people not see? Because I understand comments. I understand not everyone's going to go in and comment, but just to like that. People do that. They just go and they just like, they don't even look at the picture properly.
Yeah.
So somewhere along the line, are things getting...
So the algorithm is always trying to optimize by many, many factors. What you're most likely to want to engage with, right? So the idea is that for every, let's say, picture that you see or on your feed, there were probably thousands of options, depending on how many people you follow. And out of these thousands of options, the algorithm will decide based on this time of day, what your friends liked, what you just liked, this time of year. There were many things that this is the most likely thing that you like. So it'll allocate a score to each of these options, and then the top score will show up first. And it's constantly learning based on Do you stop at this picture? Do you like it, etc.? The algorithm is an evolving thing. It all constantly gets tweaked. You know, a few years ago, on Facebook, we optimized for friends and family, for instance. So that's an active shift in the algorithm. We feedback from many of the users said, you know, we joined Facebook because we like to see pictures of my cousin, the wedding, my grandma's birthday, etc. And now I log on and it's all these professional publishing companies that completely overwhelm the algorithm. And you know, my poor grandma.
I missed the christening.
Yeah, my poor grandma took this, you know, awkward picture. Just kind of doesn't make the cut. So we said, you know what? By default, friends and family comes first, because also we did research, and people who consume that kind of content leave the platform feeling more positive about life and just happier, and that's kind of what they resonate with. And so we deprecated that content. Now, obviously, many of the news publishers and public, you know, were not necessarily very happy that this was happening. So, but user consumption habits, user preferences came first. There's also a balance between trying to have creators who are big name creators have their following, but also introduce new content and new creators and new type of things to the consumer. And that's something that we're testing out now, right? So it's not that, yes, there are the great creators that have millions of followers, but we don't want to get it to a point where also you don't discover any new talent, or you don't discover something new that you might like. So very, very smart people working on this constantly, trying to optimize so the consumer gets what's they're most likely to enjoy and engage with.
Are they planning to do that with Instagram? I remember reading something recently that they were going to give you two feeds. One of them was, you know, like you said, the people that you follow.
You can choose. You can choose to have a chronological feed, or you can have different feeds. And now what we're doing also is if you notice on your Instagram, we suggest also certain reels to say, you might like these reels, you know, but it doesn't necessarily force them on you. You say, look, you know, these are things you might consider liking.
Suggested posts.
And you can always go to the discovery tab and you know, kind of discover new things. That's what the platform is meant for, right? It's meant to keep up with friends and family, but also if you want to kind of discover, it ties very much also to the way we sell ads, right? So one of the big differences for us is we have what we call connected commerce. With the search type of advertising, you go online with something in mind. You want to go to Bali, you're searching for best hotels or best flights. The strength of our platform is that you don't go looking for something specific. You go looking for everything, anything, right? You have a few minutes, you go log on, and we're able to predict what you like. And that's, you know, the comment, I bet your friends ask you this too, like, does they listen to my phone, right? I was talking about this
and it came up.
It came up. And
don't tell me that's like, because that's happened to me. The other day, I'm not even joking. I mean, I'm being serious. So I got these boxer shorts, and they're called undergoods. And a little bit of free promotion for them there. Very good boxer shorts. I went to put on after the shower a pair of undergoods. Now, I didn't say anything. I just saw them. Wallah, I'm not lying. Immediately, there was a promotion story from undergoods on my phone. So that made me think, they're now in my brain. I don't even have to say it anymore. Now, that could have been the biggest coincidence that ever happened. Well, you guys are not telling me something.
No, I mean, look, I mean, that's probably a good example, because when people say, you know, well, I said it, or I was saying it on the phone, or I wrote it on WhatsApp, or look, by the time you had your undergoods on, there's probably a series of events that happened. Either they were referred to you by a friend, you saw them online, you bought them online, you might have searched them, and the algorithm is able to, you know, if we take the Bali example, trip to Bali, just to simplify it, you know, you usually take your vacations in June. It's that time of the year. A bunch of your friends went there. You liked a bunch of pictures in Bali.
So next June they will be like, remember this?
Yeah, they might be like, oh, you know, it's June. You're online. Like, how about a vacation in Bali, right? And it might get it right. It might get it wrong. Ultimately, the goal is to be as predictive as possible, which helps the brand, but also to serve relevant ads, right? So if you talk about, let's say, TV, it's a mass blast of the same thing. You know, everybody gets the same thing. We don't all want
to watch the
yeah. Whereas in your case, you're going to get a customized ad, and hopefully something that is at least relevant to you.
It was very relevant. I needed to put my boxer shorts on, so it was a perfect time.
Maybe you you need another color.
I did need some new ones, to be honest. It's so weird because I messaged them because I know the owners of the brand, and I was like, dude, this is really weird, like, kind of thing. And they were like, yeah, let's meet up during the week. I was like, okay, this is just way too weird. This whole predictive and adding is so smart because, so there was a point where I was spending too much time on Instagram, and
Why did you stop?
Well, this is the thing. I tried, but they sucked me back in. So I don't follow many people. So there was a time, I only follow like 200 and something people, that when I look through the feed, a message would pop up and go, you're all done. You've seen everything for the day.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
No, that still happens.
No, that doesn't happen anymore. Definitely not on my one, because I remember I was on for an hour and a half the other day, just in the balcony, just sitting and going and going. I have never seen that message ever again.
No,
I used to see it all the time.
It's still there. It's still there. It's basically, look, it's also back to my earlier point, is it is about the well-being of the community. I think it's you know, nobody wants this to be a harmful tool or something that, you know, that is not a positive experience. We do our best to try to manage, and many of these things, like, you're all caught up, maybe you should do something else. But also we offer you these statistics, like you can go in and see how much time you spend doing these activities. I think it's really meant to give you, like, you know, if you have this FOMO about, like, what am I? It's like, hey, you're all caught up.
Yeah.
You know, go
right now.
Go do something else.
You left your child just sitting there with a towel on the bed. You still haven't dressed him yet. It's like, okay, you can do that now.
You can come back.
Yeah.
But look, I mean, by the way, all of this we're talking about also a very like a very specific type of content that you're consuming. There's a lot of content, like, you know, I follow news organization. I get most of my news on this. I get, you know, I follow some intellectuals, artists. So it is an enriching experience. It's just like anything. Like, it depends what you consume, like food, like content, right? So it, you know, it depends on who you put on your feed and what you consume. And I think it's you can make it a healthy, or you can make it kind of a waste of time, as much as where your interest goes.
I think most people do realize how I've been on a bit too long now. Yeah. And you can also, I didn't know you could do this until I figured it out, that you can set limits to how long you're on there for. Be like, okay, today's 20 minutes at a time, and that's it, and I'm ready to go, and it will warn you. It'll be like, hey, you know, you've done your 20 minutes, let's go. I saw something very interesting about Facebook saying that their biggest mistake was not paying enough attention to WeChat.
I don't know about that, but I mean, WeChat is part of Tencent. Is predominantly big in China and Asia. Our play is I mean, we have WhatsApp and Messenger, and I think WhatsApp is. It's funny. I mean, a lot of people, like, for instance, WhatsApp is huge here.
WhatsApp used to be paid.
No,
in the beginning. In the beginning, when they first started it, it was a £1 subscription fee for the year. They introduced it, and then what happened is, when it came to renewal, if people didn't renew, they'd still have it. There's an interesting fact that you might not have known.
I mean, for us, there's always, you know, there was this situation in Lebanon a few years ago.
I'm talking about WhatsApp before Facebook acquired. I mean, right back in the beginning.
I can't speak about that. I don't know. But no, for us, all of our products are effectively, you know, free. And advertising supported, and the goal is to, like I said, make the ads relevant and useful, and, you know, it's fueled the growth and popularity of them.
What's your definition of a metaverse?
It's
I'm sure this is the 180 millionth time you've spoken about it. But
no, I mean, I think the idea of having a more immersive internet. I think there's a consensus, and this is not our consensus. This is in, you know, kind of the Web 3.0 is most major tech now is in consensus that this is kind of the next wave of the internet. It's rather than looking at being looking at it from the outside is like being inside the internet. It doesn't necessarily. A lot of people attribute it as always virtual reality and this
Ready Player One kind
yeah,
of thing.
no, but it could be on your phone, and you can have a kind of a 2D but immersive experience. But the idea is to take you from watching to being part of it, and the implications of that are tremendous on all levels of society, economy, etc. And once the accessibility, which is has to do with hardware and software, catches up, I think the opportunities are going to be tremendous.
How will brands and influencers integrate into the metaverse?
So it's I think the possibilities, like I said, will be endless. Like if you think about the internet in the 90s, no one would have predicted how pervasive and how integral to every part of our life it is. And I think we are right now with the metaverse where the internet was in the 90s. I mean, you're a young man, but I remember not
that young. I'm 40. I was
I remember not having like a cell phone.
Me too.
Until almost finishing college.
I remember the
the modem.
Yeah.
And now I can't imagine being away from my phone or all the activities that I do on my mobile. I think being able to integrate products, being able to test physical, kind of an avatar of physical products before you buy them, all the way to buying digital goods, like buying digital products. We had this experience with Expo where we broadcasted around 60 events in VR, mostly the concerts and stuff. And there were a couple of very popular concerts like Coldplay and some of the hot tickets, where at the VUUZLE Plaza, you could have maybe like 2,000 to 3,000 people watching live. But we were broadcasting it, and the Expo team was excellent because they had global music rights, which is very hard to usually get. And Coldplay dropped their album there, and they played the first game. And so they would get millions of viewers who could be there. And funny anecdote, there was a friend of mine who was at the Coldplay concert, and he said, I'm in the concert, but I'm also watching the live view in Horizon World, which is our venues. And because with this phone, I can be on stage, I can be behind stage, I can be like watching Chris from the bottom,
Pretty cool. Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. And then also people were buying digital goods. You could buy a t-shirt.
Yeah, t-shirt, NFT of the concert.
Yeah, and even for me, I was like, the t-shirt, and it's a mental shift. Like today, you buy a concert t-shirt, I might only wear it a couple of times, etc. I see a value in it those few times I wear it. If you're a big gamer, if you're someone who spends a lot of time online, the actual value of it, the perception of that value is just as valuable, right? So I think, that's a simple example of having these digital assets and having them have value. And if you have kids who play online and, they buy all these tools and things for gaming, I think for them, it's very intuitive.
Yeah, but it's crazy because, I have a story about this. So my eldest son's 21 now. I remember he was playing Fortnite a good few years ago. So I was sending him money. He lives in the UK, he's studying there. And, I sent him £200. And I was like, hey, what did you get? And he started sending me pictures. And I was like, what's this? And he goes, oh, I got all these new clothes for my Fortnite character and skin. And I was like, dude, you could have bought new clothes for you to wear. Like for your skin in real life.
Yeah.
Like you literally could have bought 4 outfits, but you decided to buy them for your player. And that to me blew my mind. I was like, you could have literally wore them yourself and had some fresh, clean clothes.
Let me tell you an anecdote from a head of a family group here, a big family group. And he asked me to, come and talk to him about the metaverse. And I'm explaining and I'm trying to simplify it. And he's like, you think I don't get it? And I'm like, no, sir. I think I'm sure you get it, but it's quite a mental
it's a broad thing, yeah.
And he's like, you like these shoes, right? We're like, why do you wear them? And I'm like, oh, well, they're nice, fashionable. Do you think they're worth whatever? Look at your shoe. Pretty fashionable. And he's like, I remember my dad, we've been traded for years, and we used to bring shoes literally by the kilo, and sell them. We made some money. I started traveling, and then I'm traveling around Europe, and I see a pair of shoes for like 200 euros, 300 euros. And I'm like, we got to bring these. My dad was like, you're crazy. Who's going to buy a pair of shoes for 200 euros? And like, the people who think it's worth it.
Yeah. The people who want other people to look at them and say.
So there is, I mean, the association of value for digital assets is right now, it's as much as the next person is willing to kind of appreciate it or pay for it. I think there'll be consolidation. There'll be actually legitimate uses and stuff that is useful. But for now, there's a lot of like this speculation and things. But there are legitimate artists who create art. There are, we're seeing real estate companies that you buy an apartment here, you can buy it there. There are going to be a lot of these uses. It's a journey. We've said this is a 5 to 10 year.
I was going to ask you, what do you see the metaverse looking like in 5 to 10 years?
So I think 5 years will be for like early adapters, and 10 years it'll be hopefully, we think there'll be 1 billion users in operating in the metaverse. In a decade from now, we did a study. We think in the Middle East alone, there'll be like 360 billion economic impact on the region. This Middle East and Turkey, about 6% of the GDP. So this is serious implications, right? Because, I mean, aside from the gaming and entertainment, which is very obvious, there'll be implications on healthcare, education, remote work.
I did see a post that you did that seemed really cool about the little girl. She was wearing the Oculus.
Amazing.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So, I mean, these things really touch me and kind of remind me why we do what we do. Because, so there's this doctor in Lebanon or this NGO that gave this Oculus to hospitals because children, when they are under anesthesia or they're being put to sleep for surgery or medical procedures, they get a lot of anxiety. I mean, adult gets anxiety, but children are not used to that feeling. And so that process is very stressful on them. And so this doctor started using our devices, our Oculus devices, to basically put them in a soothing environment. So, the kid is in this immersive cartoon experience while they're being put to sleep. And the amazing thing about this is that we actually didn't activate this, right? And this is when people say, are you building the metaverse? Can I get this real estate? It's like, no, we are building for the metaverse. We're not building the metaverse. We are building devices. We are building the ecosystem. We're building technology that can enable people who are going to build the metaverse. And this kind of innovation is by the community. And what has been really essential for our growth is we build the infrastructure. We might even showcase some case studies to show what's possible, but then the creativity of the ecosystem takes over. And I always say specifically about this region is that we're not necessarily at the point where we are developing the technology. That might come, but we are very quick adapters. So whenever something is developed, you see it like spike in the region. People adapt, create, innovate, etc. Because it's a young population, high mobile phone penetration, but also there is a lot of creativity and there is a lot of pinned up kind of potential. So, I mean, that story is incredible. Like we were actually trying to reach the doctor and NGO and see how we can get involved. There's another film director that reached out to me that has done the impact of the Beirut explosion in kind of a VR environment. I haven't seen the documentary myself, but we're also trying to invite him to do a screening at our office. And the ability to put you in that situation gives you such greater appreciation for what happened. And then,
and how the people felt in that.
How the people felt, and then the implications after on everyday life. I think it creates sympathy, empathy. It gives you a greater understanding of the needs. It brings, people who can help, brings them closer to the fact. So it's these type of things that I think are really, really impactful about this. And it's, there's this dystopic view that you're going to be in this kind of Atari world, which is
going to happen as well.
no, but I think that what it's the direction this is heading is that you're not going to just be in this device. It's most likely going to be a combination of AR and VR, where you're going to be able to interact with your environment, and so you might see an avatar here, and we're seeing a big trend. So obviously, gaming is number one, but we see a lot of social.
This is the one I want to talk about. Yeah,
dating, you communication, etc. Fitness is a very fast growing category. You can get a proper workout.
Yeah, not just that, you can have a avatar of a trainer in your living room.
Avatar and a trainer. There's this boxing games. There's obviously some of them are more challenging. I think Mark talked about jiu-jitsu. That's going to be a bit tough, but
love it.
But most other things you could probably do. Tennis, table tennis.
I mean, it's like the Nintendo Wii, right? When it first came out and they were doing the...
Yeah, but this is a lot more immersive. You're right. Yeah. I mean, I can have a trainer in New York and he's coaching me here and I see the avatar and we can communicate. And it's quite a seamless experience. But also, I could have him as a hyper-realistic person. I can see him as muscle tissue. I can see him as a bone structure, there is implications from a medical perspective, from a physiotherapy perspective. The sky is the limit. It's meant to enhance reality. It's meant to enrich the experience rather than simply, we're gonna
replace
it. I mean, there's things that are irreplaceable. Having a good meal, sitting with friends, being in the presence of someone. It's not about that. But in the days, for instance, that just passed of COVID, where you couldn't, for logistics reasons, for safety reasons, be with your grandma, be with your parents, wouldn't you want to be present with them? I mean, that ability to enhance that experience, enrich it, I think is definitely worthwhile. It's not like we're going to be sitting here and we're both going to be wearing this, right? But
I mean, in some situations it will be, though. You can't factor out that there will be people who will fully immerse into this virtual reality, alternate reality life, because I mean, for many people, some people are just not very social. On one side, it can help mental health, where somebody who's not particularly social and isn't that good with starting new relationships and just speaking to strangers could do it for a bit in the metaverse. Because there are places where you go, you sit down, you're at a bar, you're talking to someone and kind of build up their confidence. But then you can have the other side where, this guy's cheating on his girlfriend with another girl that he met on the, in the metaverse, and they meet at that bar every day while the other one's at work and they have a conversation, because that will happen.
Potentially. Look, I mean, again, technology simply enables life. So if somebody's going to cheat, somebody's going to cheat. I think the idea here is if most of the uses are going to be positive. I mean, you mentioned dating, right? Like you watch now the social habits of dating. Again, I've lived it. No cell phone, messaging, etc. Today you meet someone. I think it's customary to say, I don't know, what's your Instagram handle or what's this, right? And then the first contact is usually a message. Imagine you meet a girl and the first thing she calls you. Like, I don't know, like it has evolved from that now where people are like, well, messaging, it's less intrusive.
Now it's just like a story fire emoji. And then it's just like,
maybe a couple of fire emojis, a message here and there, a DM, you will switch to WhatsApp, etc. I think maybe it moves into that evolution. I mean,
also that's how you know that they're not interested. When it doesn't go to WhatsApp from the Instagram messenger, you're like, damn it, I should have started this one different.
But there's also like legitimate safety. You know, if you're not so comfortable, maybe you meet digitally first. You get to know each other, and you're not.
Yeah, but he's jacked in the digital one. His avatar is like fully jacked. You get there, and he's just like got a big belly. But okay, it's a very thin line, and I think it's. How do you guys balance the dangers of the metaverse? Because you can have a lot of human trafficking, bribing, children meeting adults who in the metaverse, the parents don't quite know what they're doing. They think they're playing a game. You know how kids are. They'll be at school and someone will say, go play this one, it's a new one, and then you won't know they're switching. So you could have dodgy dealings, fraud happening on there, people meeting in fake bar in the middle of nowhere, like, okay, bring the person on to this street at 9 o'clock. And how do you monitor that kind of safety in there? Because you can't have trigger words. And I wanted to talk to you about, the same goes with the Ray-Ban Instagram glasses, which I found horrendous when I first heard about them. I was like, this is insane. My wife, we could be at the pool and there could be this sleazy guy who's looks like he's just wearing sunglasses, just recording her lying down at the pool, goes home, uploads it to his laptop. How do you stop that?
Right. So look, for starters, I think what we're building is the infrastructure for this. So, obviously there's going to be different applications and stuff that
it's not just you guys.
No, we're not. We're not. It's we're part of a whole ecosystem that is investing in building in this. We recognize our part. So a lot of these things might evolve, and we're actually investing. Like, we're investing $50 million a year to intellectuals, philosophers, NGOs, civil society organizations to think about safety, well-being, things that can go wrong, how we can kind of prevent any of these things. So we're not just relying on what we are able to predict the ramifications, but also going to people who think about this stuff all the time. We're investing about $150 million a year in helping creators and developers develop things that are innovative and positive in the metaverse. And then I think, have a lot of experience from our history in social media in trying to manage these kind of risks and concerns, where we've gotten to a point where through machine learning, we've gotten through a point where we've had even algorithms to be able to recognize danger of people, unfortunately, using life to commit suicide and prevent that. 1,500, I think, in 1 year, where we were able to communicate with law enforcement and prevent a trend of behavior that we thought was leading to that. Going live became something that got treated like a privilege. If you were kind of not had certain activity that flagged some red flag, then you are prevented from that privilege to go live. So we have a lot of learnings in this space that we're trying to also infuse into our metaverse, and it's a constant learning experience. So now, one thing that evolved is that you should be able to create a personal bubble. Even an avatar shouldn't come. And those, we try to predict those, and if there's anything that's a precedent, to build on it.
But how, for example, specific? I mean, I understand that and I agree with it. But how, for example, something like those glasses?
So the glasses is an early experiment that we did with Ray-Ban, or the mother company.
They were out for sale, right? People could buy them.
Yeah, you can buy them. It's actually by design. If someone is recording, there's a red light that goes on, and the main purpose of that red light is to warn others. To warn others that you are filming, and this is by design to create that kind of safety. Us working with Ray-Ban is because Ray-Ban are
huge brand.
Not just huge brand, they're just really good at making glasses, right? And ultimately the goal is to get the Oculus into a glasses type of frame where you're able to wear them most of the time. And so how they sit on your face and where the computing technology sits, etc., is something that they're much better at. And so if we're able to get it to that level, I think that's where you get it to that level, and then also get the price point at a point where it's mass use. That's when you can have this kind of hockey stick usage, and it can become kind of like the cell phone.
And then into the lenses it goes.
Well, it like I said, it's going to be probably more like a enhanced reality of things. And we have a new device coming out in October. And it'll be a bit closer to where we're thinking about it, which is going to be, enhancing. It's going to be not just VR, but AR, VR. Wow. So you're able to see and interact with an avatar.
That's crazy. I won't even have to invite guests anymore. I'll be like, put these glasses on and meet me there in a bit.
Well, I just read today there's a modeling agency now that manages.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah.
And see, this is another thing that was a problem. So there's been an issue that there was a modeling agency that had a black model avatar that was getting a lot of modeling jobs and paid, but wasn't run by black people. So there was like, where does the line get drawn where these people are getting paid off something that it's not their culture or whatever? So there was a danger and people were not happy about that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know about the example, but I mean, it's quite a reputable.
Oh, no, I got it wrong. There was a black Instagram influencer who was a model that turned out that she wasn't real. And she was actually an avatar.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's an agency now that manages these avatars. I mean, if you think about it, you know, ultimately, if the brand is trying to sell certain clothes and stuff, and then the thing with avatars too, and this is what the new device will also capture is, there's this assumption that, you know, you're always gonna want hyperrealism, and there's early assumption that everybody wants, you know, you want to look exactly like you want to look here in real world, which is not the case. You know, you might want to express yourself in a different way, and so the new device will also be able to capture your facial features, and your avatar will express themselves like you. I think it allows people the freedom also to experiment and be who they want to be, and if they want to be the hyper-realist person that you are, then you can, but it gives people that option. And same thing with if you were able to create an avatar or NFTs, digital art. I mean, these kind of models would be the same concept, right? That you're able to market them and people can follow them and you can create lives for them. It's a lot of work, but you can do it.
And I mean, I'm quite old-fashioned in one sense, but I remember typically when lockdown first happened and we weren't allowed out, Google did something very cool. Especially for the kids. So you could type in lion and then it would give you a 3D lion that you can put anywhere in your house. And then you could film that and make a video with it. And you could do that with all the animals. And I think that just passed so much time. So I can understand how that will work in that sense. But part of me is just like, maybe I'm thinking too far ahead and AI is taking over the world and all that stuff. I mean, I've got a Terminator skull there, so I'm into all of that stuff, but I don't want to lose that reality of, I think this is good enough.
Look, it's good enough, but there is a lot of room where a lot of things can be improved. Imagine being able to do a medical procedure from across the world.
They're doing that already now, with robots.
But imagine you being able to through an avatar be inside, you know, kind of visually be inside someone's body and be able to interact. Imagine when you're describing to your kids what the solar system is, to take a walk down the Milky Way, right?
Yeah.
Imagine you know, the ability to be able to get jobs in your country, working actually in earning a salary in the US.
Yeah. Do you think there will be only meta only businesses as well that only exist in the metaverse and not?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, there'll be, but also it doesn't have to be just digital or just physical. I think it's going to be a mix of both. So you could do a job in the digital world that has implications on the physical world, and the level of access that creates for someone who, you know, doesn't have the right passport or can't travel or is disabled is massive. I think the ability for you to be present in multiple locations at once.
I think that for me is the most important. Like, for example, you have a family member who's dying, you know, in a hospital on the other side of the world. You can actually be there and talk to them. Or everybody knows that we just hate our friends who are like, we're getting married, come to the wedding. Where are you doing it? Madagascar. Why? That's so far. I'll be there. I'm sending my avatar there. He's gonna have a great time.
There you go.
Yeah. So I think that side of it is really cool.
I think there's a lot of it, that a lot of this, your ability to not be restricted by space and time is incredibly powerful. And there'll be serious, I think most people think through just like the immediate kind of implications and think dystopia, but like, you know, look at the internet and where it's driven us. I think most people would agree that we have evolved and are a lot more efficient with it than without it. Doesn't mean that you can't take a break and disconnect, and that's always going to be an option. But I think the possibilities that would be available with that are limitless.
What are your consumption expectations for users when it comes to the metaverse as Meta, as a brand? And if they're consuming, how do they have time to produce?
Well, I think that it's not about consuming, because there's the aspect of the metaverse that'll be consuming content and entertainment, etc. But I think you can produce in the metaverse. I think it's going to be just a part of life. It's like saying, like, every time you use your phone, you're wasting your time. It's not true. Yeah, I mean, you're conducting work, you're searching, you're communicating with family. I think it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be multi-purpose, weaved into every aspect of life.
And that's just like definitely the way forward. You don't see any other way. That's just the direction we're going, and it's just going to happen now. Like it's inevitable.
I mean, that seems to be the consensus, right? This is not just us. It's a lot of things are signaling that way, right? The web 1.0, which was like just the basic internet. 2.0 was social. I mean, it's hard to imagine the world now today without social. Yeah. Right. And I think we're going to get to a point where it's going to be hard to imagine, because there's going to be things that, it's not, NFTs, cryptocurrency. All of these things fall under that umbrella. So if you think about many things we do today, really quite antiquated, like carrying your passport around. If you lose your passport, it's a catastrophe. It can get stolen. Like, can that be NFT? Like it's that. I was in the US this summer, and it's pretty cashless now. Like, carrying cash around, most places won't even take it. Yeah. So is that going to be?
I never carry cash around anymore.
Necessary?
It's always the Apple Pay, and that's it.
Yeah. So I think, if you travel around the region,
yeah, exactly.
In cash we trust. But it's I mean, I think there's a lot of these things that if I would have told you a few years ago, you'd have been like, no way. And now it's just.
Yeah. I think that's the way that we should do war now in the future. It's like, we'll do it in the metaverse. No one gets hurt. Just your avatars. You meet me there. We'll have a metaverse like desert, and then we'll just go at it. If you lose, that's it. We'll see you again next week. Let's play again.
Done.
So much easier to do. What's the difference between Meta in the US and Meta in the Middle East?
So the US is headquartered, right? So it's the mothership. A lot of the products are developed in the US. Obviously we have a lot of teams in the US that slowly, the history of our offices, not just in the Middle East, but across the world, they start out as purely commercial offices where, we provide some services to clients here, and then they kind of evolve. We recently inaugurated our office, which
I'm not going to say what it is.
We don't. But it's a pretty sizable office. We have a whole building. It feels very much like a Facebook office, and we have a lot of functions now. So it's, we have this, obviously the commercial team, but we also have a public policy team that engages with governments and policymakers. We have a comms team that manages all of our PR and communication. We have teams that do product marketing. We have teams that manage celebrities and media partners. We have team that manage operators and telcos. We have a connectivity team. We play an active part in laying submarine cable into Africa and connecting Africa into internet. So there's I'm always constantly surprised. Like whenever I try to do anything, they're like, oh, I'm the blood donations guy.
Exactly.
So I think it's evolving. It goes hand in hand with the evolution of the region. Dubai is becoming a global hub, and with that, we increase our presence here. The region is becoming quite exciting. I think, it's safe to say that the world is going into a slowdown, an economic slowdown. Europe and the US, with mortgage rates going high and all that stuff. The region is a little bit shielded from that because high oil prices, a lot of activity here, World Cup, Expo, etc. So that's an opportunity to kind of elevate the region into I think its rightful place in the world. We as a team also feel we're definitely representative of Meta in the region, but also we're representative of the region to Meta. So we're big advocates to, we had Sheryl Sandberg here in March, and she was like blown away by she said they had very positive things to say. It was her first trip after basically 2 years of COVID, and she came here and she even brought members of her family, and she's like really, really blown away by how positive and excited and optimistic the region is, and she compared it to Silicon Valley 15 years ago, which I think is the greatest compliment.
It's a compliment,
and she spoke very highly, and we recently were in a farewell call because she was leaving. And
did things change?
I think it'll be different. Sheryl had a massive impact on the company. She was there for 14 years. I had the pleasure to interact with her when she was here, and she's just a brilliant business lady. Like, she, aside from her career at Facebook, she was for a long time at Google. She's a massive advocate for women rights, and she has this organization called Lean In, named after one of her books, where she kind of supports women across the world, and she's been probably one of the most outspoken executives about this. She's also has she lost her husband, and she wrote another book called Plan B, which for most people it's a massive resilience book about survival. So she's an incredible woman. So of course, I think she's going to leave her mark. She's going to remain on the board, and she's going to keep her influence on it. But she always jokes and says, she took this job for 5 years and she was in it for 14 years. So, but the good thing about which she also said, the good thing about Facebook is there's a very, very strong bench. So many people who have left have landed into incredible. CEO of Instacart used to be the head of the Facebook app, and there's so many of the alumni that have been, and then the existing bench I think has so many fantastic leaders that nobody can do this better than Meta can.
How important is Saudi to Meta right now?
Massively important,
right? Because I think Snapchat have the majority, because I didn't know this until my cousin was telling me. He was like, they're crazy out there for Snapchat.
Yeah, Snapchat is popular there. Instagram is very popular.
Yeah,
WhatsApp is incredibly popular.
But you have to get Saudi right as
Saudi,
it's like the completion to the region.
Saudi is strategic. We're active in Saudi, but we're increasing our activity in Saudi. So we created now what we call a pod, or a team that's going to be dedicated to Saudi. So usually we're structured across industry lines. So financial services, telco, etc. And then there's Saudi, which is just regional nuance. I think Saudi is undergoing an incredible evolution, at such a fast pace. And you go there, you sense it buzzing. I had the pleasure to go to Neom and see like it's really unbelievable what they're trying to do there. So I think any business plan in the Middle East that does not include Saudi is not a serious business plan. So I think for us, yes, we're very active in Saudi. We're holding an event actually next month called House of Instagram in Saudi, where we're inviting CEOs, clients, influencers, etc. And like I said, the plan is to have massive presence on an ongoing basis in Saudi, and we signed a partnership with STV, which is the biggest venture capital fund in Saudi Arabia, actually in the Middle East. And we work with all their startups that are not just in Saudi, but many of them are based in Saudi, to coach them and work with them to see how they can leverage our platforms to grow. We are working quite closely with Neom and other organizations who are trying to tell the Saudi story abroad. So it's a pivotal part of our growth plan.
That's incredible. One thing that I wanted to touch on as well is, why did Meta remove their crypto wallet? Novi, and how important is cryptocurrency in the picture now? Because it seemed like they were really on board in the beginning when crypto was going great, and now they've kind of...
No, so I think so. A couple of things with crypto. When first crypto came out, there was a lot of chaos, and people had negative experiences, and people expressed it. So we banned the advertising of crypto because we didn't want people to get scammed. There were a lot of scams, and there wasn't a lot of clarity, etc. And now we are selectively working with like established, again, with keeping the safety of our users. As far as like us like launching a wallet or doing this, there's many products that we experiment and then either deprecate, switch, pivot. So it's very common that we do this. I think crypto is going to be an essential part of the metaverse. So there will be these aspects of it. But you know, it's a space that's waiting for some consolidation and correction, etc. So we just want to make sure, again, at our size, that we do things properly.
I mean, it's a tricky one, right? Because like you said, Meta's always ready to jump on when something is right. Do you know what I mean?
It's we're trying to offer, you know, again, shift with consumer behavior.
Yeah.
So if there are many things that came out of that are incredibly popular, and there are many things that we have tried and, you know, they didn't work or we deprioritized. I mean, that's the other thing that, you know, that is happening now, which is it's the metaverse investment is such a massive investment, you know, to the tune of like $10 billion a year, thousands of engineers. And so you just got to prioritize. There's so many cool things you can do, but you know, you have to take a couple of big bets where you make most of your investment. I think most tech firms do that. You hear about a lot of deprecation. Maybe you don't hear as much about the deprecation as you hear about the launches, but many products come and go, sometimes fairly quickly, because like I said, it's a very fast evolving thing. And unlike brick and mortar, we're able to test product market fit fairly quickly, and then move on.
So what should people look out for Meta in the next couple of years in the region, and what kind of exciting things are happening that you want to?
So we launched NFTs, you know, and usually, talking about the US, usually we launch things in the US and they kind of roll to Europe, and you know, it's some time before they come to the region. But NFTs were one of the priority markets because we see a lot of activity here. We see a lot of creators. We have a ton of creator activity. You might find this surprising, but we have a higher concentration of creators here than in many parts of the world. So we have a lot of programs and stuff that is coming for creators. We're gonna have a big presence of the World Cup, highlights, activities, stuff. So I think that's gonna be, you know, we like to say we're the biggest stadium in the world. And I think the October 11th, we have our event called Connect, which is where we unveil new products, etc. So watch out for the new device. I think it's going to be pretty cool, especially if you are into that sort of thing, and especially if you're into gaming. It's going to have really cool implications. We're hoping to start officially selling the devices here at sometime soon. So yeah, I mean, there's a ton of exciting things that are happening. Yeah, a lot of cool things.
Man, it's been absolutely incredible to have you with us.
My pleasure.
Do you feel like we've missed anything out?
No. I mean, I've seen some video. You have a lot of fighters. You didn't ask me about.
You want to talk about? So your first fight. I mean, you were raised in Brazil, right?
Yeah.
So we'll talk about your fighting if you want.
It's funny because I know Mark in his last, when he did Joe Rogan, he talked about like and then he released a video where he was
doing jiu-jitsu,
sparring.
Oh, sparring, yeah.
And I was like, wow, Mark, wow, like not bad.
We go to the same gym, so does that mean that I'm going to see you in one of the jiu-jitsu
I
classes now?
Maybe,
is that your way in?
Maybe.
That's it. We got the video. If he releases a video, you need to release a video too. We'll attach it to the end.
I gotta up the
game, right? Yes. No, dude, it's been an absolute pleasure being able to get into your mind and have the insight on everything Meta and everything that's going on.
My pleasure.
Wish you all the best of luck. And,
Thank you.
Thank you
Wish
so
you
much
the
for
luck.
taking the time to come in.
This was fun.
Let me know when the glasses are coming.
We'll let you know.
I'll send you the address.
All right.
But yeah, thank you so much for coming down. It's been an incredible episode, and we'll have to get you in again sometime. Maybe after the launch of the glasses. We can talk about that,
why
man.
not?
Yeah,
We'll
for sure.
We'll bring you in to try them on.
That's it. Well,
vaccinated.
you bring me outside to try them. I'll let you know how they work outside of the
Okay.
office. That'll be cool. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I've been AJ. He's been Faris. Boom.